All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We are wrapping up day one of our Virtual Training Institute. It's been a great day of learning. We've had some instructors from across the state sharing their expertise with us, and this session is no exception. So we are going to be covering reading strategies with Leah this afternoon, and I'm going to let her take it from here. But first, let me do this. I'm going to launch a quick poll, and it's going to ask you your role within your program. If you have multiple roles, you can feel free to check more than one box. All right, looks like our primary so far is ESL instructors. Excellent. So I'm going to share those results so that you can see. So 47% in the audience are ESL instructors. All right, thank you everyone for joining us, and I'm going to turn it over to Leah now.
Great. Hey, welcome everyone. My name is Leah Bruton. I will be doing introductions quickly. I also noticed that some of you have already started introducing yourself in the chat box. So let's jump right into introductions so I know who's here. If you would, go ahead and type your name, where you're from, and kind of what role you have. I know we just did the poll, but type in your role and what organization you work with. I see a lot from community colleges. Awesome. Great. And some people from my community college. That's great. Okay, so I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Leah Bruton. I'm originally from North Carolina, and I moved to Maryland in November 2017. Since then, I have taught full-time at an elementary school in Frederick County Public Schools and part-time as an adult ESL teacher at Frederick Community College. I have my bachelor's degree in elementary education and a bachelor's in Jigsaw and a master's in education. And I'm also on the MD Jigsaw board as the tech and digital coordinator. So welcome. Looks like we have a large variety of people. A lot of people are from community colleges. So this is awesome. A lot of the things you'll see tonight from me, I've actually taken my knowledge from the elementary schools and twisted it and used it with adults, and found that these strategies work well with adults just as they do with elementary school kids. So hopefully they're beneficial to you today and show you something new. Let's jump right in. So everyone should see my screen. We're going to go through the presentation together. I like to throw in little tidbits of extra bonus things. So you'll see some different types of technology today that you can actually use in your classroom, some different tech resources. I'll be sure to point those out. Our goals today are to identify and discuss effective reading strategies for all levels. I've used this, like I said, with elementary school students, with basic adult EL, and all the way up to advanced ESL, and I've used it in some of my higher level targeted ESL classes. We're going to evaluate the strategies and activities that will be most beneficial for you in your specific field. There's a lot, so I want you to hyper focus in on what you can use and what you can take away, and then for you to be able to create a plan of how you're going to incorporate those strategies. So a lot of times in adult ed, the students get an article like this, and it's like, boom, read it, answer some questions. What do you do with that? I personally felt like that wasn't really teaching them the reading skills that they needed. A lot of times they would get stuck on maybe a word, and then they wouldn't go on, or they would see this and get kind of overwhelmed. So we're going to talk about some of those strategies. One of the biggest things that I like to teach is before, during, and after reading. This is something that I've taken from a variety of reading interventions that I've done over the years, through elementary school, actually. So if you'll see on this slide, there is a chart that shows examples of what would happen before reading, during reading, and after reading. And I'm going to show you guys kind of how I use it and what I've done in the adult ed classroom to meet these needs. So I teach my students that every time, no matter what the text is, no matter what's in front of them, to do some of these basic strategies. So this is one of the activities tonight that hopefully you can take back and you can use whenever, wherever. And I do it so much with my students that they get in a habit of using. Oh, sorry, I'm going in and out. I will try to stay still. That could be the problem. So before reading, I always teach my students to preview the text. So I'll say, look at the title, look at the pictures, look at the headings, just look at how big the text is, how small it is, and kind of get in your head, what type of text is this? So for example, is this a novel? Is this a newspaper article? Is this an ad? Is this a job application? A lot of times I know with my adult ELs, when they take the different tests like CASAS, they are expected to be able to look at a job application or some type of application or form and be able to read that. Well, that reading is a lot different than if I were to read a story at night to my son. So that's the first thing I want my students to do. Look at this text. What type of text is it? Now, thinking about what type of text it is, how am I going to read that text? So if I have a newspaper article or I have an educational article, I'm not going to read it smoothly like I would when I'm reading a story to my son. I'm going to read it more with the focus in mind of what am I trying to get from this? What's the most important information that I can gain from this article? So in that way, I teach my students to more skim or to highlight keywords. And we'll talk about this more later. So first step, preview the text quickly. Think about what type of text is this? How am I going to read it? The next thing is read the title. The title tells us what the topic is. What is this about? So I have the students read the title so that they can do step 3. And step 3 is think about the topic. This is where we're really pulling from their background knowledge. What do they already know? So then I have them explain, what do you already know about this topic? Maybe this is a chance for them to turn and talk and discuss it with a partner. Maybe this is a chance for them to do a KWL chart where they write down all the things they already know. So this really primes their brain before they ever read. Again, remember, they haven't read anything yet other than the title, maybe some headings if there are any. So they're thinking about the topic, they're getting their brains ready for reading so that as they read, they're connecting it back to what they already know and making deeper connections to understand the text. The last step is to make a prediction. I always have them kind of give a general guess of what they think is going to happen. What are they going to learn? What do they expect to learn? Or even sometimes I have them write questions of what do they want to learn. That's all before reading. Then during reading, I have my students underline keywords and phrases, and we'll go over a little bit later some different strategies I teach them for doing that for all levels. Also, I have them take notes about each section, and we'll go over some strategies for doing that as well, some different ways. So they have a focus in mind as they're reading. What am I doing during reading? No matter what it is, what am I doing? And last, they're going back and checking their prediction, connecting everything back to that beginning thought that they had about the text. They're thinking about what they read, and then they're making some kind of a summary, whether it's to a partner or whether it's a written summary, depending on what the lesson is. So we're going to go straight into some strategies. I'm excited to share these with you. I will give you a heads up that tonight there's going to be some of me doing teacher talk like I'm doing right now. There's also going to be some of you being able to explore and dive into some of these resources that we have and really finding the ones that work best for you. I'm going to kind of walk you through it to begin with, and then I'm going to give everyone a chance to explore and dive deeper into the resources that we have available. So the first thing I told you I was going to go over was the keywords and phrases. This is something I have my students do during reading all the time. Currently at the elementary school, I have a group of newcomers. They all have been in the country for less than a year. And keywords and phrases really helps them have access to grade level text. They're in 5th grade, and those texts are extremely difficult, especially in English, especially when they have a different first language and they're very new to the country. So I teach my students, look for words that are repeated. If a word is repeated or a phrase is repeated over and over again, underline those words. They give you a clue of what's important in what you're reading. So another thing with keywords and phrases, this is a way for us to start to build a summary of what we're reading. So if you look on here, the pictures that I have are all from different activities I've done with my adult learners. And you'll see these are from different classes. They're different reading activities. I always have my students read, if it's a more difficult article, I have them read it at least twice, a lot of times 3 times, to really dive in and understand what it's talking about. That's an excellent skill to have when they move on maybe to GED or to further in college, that they can actually dive into some of those deeper text and understand what they're reading. So you'll see I had them look at an article, I had them listen to an article. They're underlining those keywords and phrases, and the keywords or phrases are giving them a clue as to what the article is about. You also see there's a bonus activity down there. It's called Roving charts. And we will specifically talk about roving charts later. This is just what they did with that reading activity. So majority of our night tonight is going to be on Padlet. This is one of my little tech pieces I threw in here. Padlet is an excellent site to use if you want people to be able to comment. Say you have an article that you're reading with your class and you have some questions posted in Padlet, or you have a KWL chart posted in Padlet. They can go in and they can individually respond, and everybody can see everyone else's responses. So we're going to dive right into Padlet because I want to show you how to use it and show you each resource. And then I'm going to give you a chance to actually look at all of the resources and figure out what you want to take away with you today. So you should be able to click on the link. If you have any issues, you can type in the chat box any issues you might have. You'll also see it on my screen as I go through each one with you. So I'll give everyone a minute. Hopefully all is well.
Leah, do you want to cut and paste the link into the chat box?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Here we go. Great. I'm assuming the link in the chat box is working for everyone?
Yes, I just clicked on it.
Perfect. Yay! So this, you probably want to save this. This is where all the resources are being housed. And this is where we will be able to comment on each other and ask questions. So let me kind of walk you through this Padlet if you want to look at my screen for a bit, and then I'm going to let you go to your screens and explore. So on my screen, you'll see here's the Padlet. If I kind of scroll over this way, I see all of the resources. Uh-oh. Okay. You'll see all of the resources I have for you. They all have a heading, and then they have a resource page that you'll click on. It's a link to a Google Doc. And then in the Google Doc, there are more links to resources. I just linked everywhere. There's links everywhere. So we'll go through what this looks like. And then what you are going to do when you have your chance to explore, if you see the plus button under each column, you'll click that to add a comment or add a question about each one. So say, for example, okay. Say, for example, you are under the before, during, and after reading resource, and you have a question about it. I'm just going to click the plus sign, and you guys will probably be anonymous, but my name pops up because I'm logged in. I'm just going to type my question here. So, what other resources do you use? And I'm going to post it. So then what I can do is I can go in and I can comment specifically on your question. It just keeps everything organized so that I know what you're specifically asking about. And you can stay focused on that one activity without having to go all over the place and search for my comments back to you. So we're going to use, sorry, so my screen is frozen. We're going to use this instead of the chat box for any questions or comments, or even extensions. If you have something that you've done with this and you want to share with the group, we're going to use Padlet to do that so it stays organized under those columns and very focused. I'm going to delete my question. Okay. Let's go under each one. I'll show you how to navigate this, and then you will get a chance to explore. You'll have a lot of time to explore and ask questions. So I'm going to go to before, during, and after reading, and I'm going to click on that resource. It'll pop up. I can look at it like this, or I can open it in a new window. You see, if I open it in a new window, it takes you to the actual Google Doc that where it's housed, and you'll see, excuse me, you'll see for each one of these, there is some type of picture or resource at the top. Then there's a description of how I've used it in class or how I've seen it used before. There's a rationale that gives you an idea of why do we do this? Why would we need to? And then the last one is resources, and this is where you can actually click and it will take you to an actual resource. So this is, I went over before, during, and after reading with you guys earlier. This is a cloze activity that I've done with my students before. So maybe the first class we do a reading activity. I actually teach the before, during, and after reading strategies. The second or third time, I have them do this cloze activity so that they start to remember and review what they should do before, during, and after reading. And then the boxes are for them to take notes to actually do the strategy. So as you see, today you're going to be walking away with a template, a resource for every strategy I have on here. And some of the strategies I have 2 or 3 resources for. I wanted you to have as much in your toolbox when you walk away for reading as possible. So I'm going to exit out of that, and I'm going to exit out of that one. So that was that was the before, during, and after reading. Now I'm going to walk through each one of these and quickly tell you about them. Again, the description's on each page, so if you have questions, you can ask. But I'm going to go through each one. So the next one is small summaries, add them up. This is one of my favorites. And this is something I kind of, I'm sure there's a resource out there, but one day I randomly came up with it. I was like, I need this. So a lot of times my students, and you see here some of my students in the pictures, a text gets overwhelming. There's a lot going on and it gets overwhelming. So I've taught them to read a paragraph or read a section and then do a quick summary. Or I've had them before where I've had, can you tell me what that paragraph was about in just one word or one small phrase, and just write it out to the side, like in the margin, write it out. I have my students do this so when they get to the end and their brains are just full of all this reading, and it's been so labor intensive for them sometimes trying to navigate through it all, they don't have to remember everything they read. They just go back and read those quick phrases and they can add that up to a summary. So that's why I call it summarize and add it up, or mini summaries. You'll see here's the resource page. This is this picture is one that I drew on the board one time for the students. Now, what I've done for you is created a template, again, that you'll click on. And when you go there, it has a template already pre-made for you. So all you have to do is print it out and use it. Now, if you want, you can always edit this. Say there's only 4 paragraphs, or say there's 6 paragraphs. You can edit that. You would probably maybe have to create your own because I had to actually draw this out and make it. But I also, like I said, have had them write out in the margins and then at the end, just on a piece of paper, write a summary. If you don't want to print out a diagram, both are equally useful and beneficial to the students. So there's the resource for that. The next thing is okay. So I'll come back and answer your questions in a little bit. Great question though. I'll come back and comment on it so that everybody can see in case they have that question later. So visualizing. This is an easy strategy. I love this one. This works really well for me. I'm a doodler. And so as I listen to people talk, I doodle. And there's this whole group of people out there now that actually do sketch noting. Hopefully you've seen that. If you haven't, you should look it up. It's awesome. But sketch notes, basically you're listening to a presenter talk, like maybe you're listening to me now. And instead of writing out pages of notes, you're drawing quick doodles or pictures that kind of show you what's being talked about. One of the things I love most about this with my ELs is that, you know, a lot of times they're having to translate things in their head to put it back on paper in English to make sense out of it. And I love the visuals because they can just draw a picture. Pictures are the same in any language. It's awesome. So visual note taking is where they can take notes either on a reading or on listening to an instructor or a professor, and they can draw out doodles of what they're learning. You'll see in these pictures, I had my students actually read an article with their team and they had to create posters from the article. So you even see some of their sample posters that they did. They always like their posters to be perfect. So they look up pictures like, how do I draw this? It doesn't have to be that intense. It could just be a quick sketch. I also have students do similar to the summary where they draw a picture out to the side of what the paragraph was mostly about. So there's lots of ways you can adapt this and do this in your classroom. The main thing is that they're visualizing. Again, there's a resource, visual note-taking. It's a 2-column chart. It's a column chart where you can put the topic in the middle, and they just draw pictures all around of what's going on, what they're learning about. Now, if you want it to be more organized than this, you can do it in a 2-column chart where they have maybe the heading, and then they have a picture of what that section's mostly about. Bonus, with my newcomers, a lot of time at the elementary school, if they're reading a book in class or the teacher's doing a read aloud, I'll actually get out a whiteboard, and on the whiteboard while the teacher's reading, I'll kind of sketch out what's going on in the book so that as they're listening to all that great English from the reading, they're also seeing the pictures to go with it. So they're not having to make sense of it, but they're absorbing the language still. That was a bonus. That wasn't included. The next thing is anticipation guide, or I put that this is called predict and check strategy. So in this specific strategy, I actually used an anticipation guide. You may have seen one before. You just write quick 5 statements that are true or false from the reading. And before they read, they have to mark whether they think it's true or false based on their prior knowledge. It gives them a focus for when they're reading. After they're finished reading, they go back and write the real, is it true or false, and check their answers based on what they read. It really gives students a focus for reading. And again, it activates their prior knowledge so they have something to connect to. In this one, you'll see I have several resources that I created. You'll see the sample that I have here from an actual article. It was an article on tips for a great job application for my adult students. And so you won't be able to use that. I included it as a sample for you, as an exemplar, so that you see just the quick statements I wrote from the article that were either I wrote them true or I wrote them false. So then I also have a template for you guys. If you want to use that, you can take it, it's blank, of course, so you can type in your own things, type in the title of your text. Now, we'll say that these documents are all view only because I don't want them to be changed or erased accidentally. So you can always copy and paste and create a new document or make a copy of it to add on. And the last one is a KWL. It's a very simple way to do a predict and check. They tell, of course, what do they already know? What do they want to know? And then at the end, they go back and tell what they learned based on what they predicted or they questioned. So that was a quick one. All right. Next one is headings and titles. Okay, there's lots of different ways to do this. So this is very vague. You'll see under the description, I even wrote out several different ways that I've used it. And you'll see even in my presentations that I've done with students, there's several different ways that I've done this. So one thing that I've done is matching headings. So if you look at this top left corner, I gave them possible headings. They had to read the section or paragraph, and they had to match one of the headings to that paragraph. So it really teaches them how to look for the details in the paragraph that set it apart from the others. So that paragraph happened to be about different skills that they needed. So Susan, I see that you said you can't see the text, is too small. This is actually in the Google Slides presentation as well, so probably be bigger there. It's an actual like full screen in that. This is just kind of a screenshot as an example. So I've had the matching the headings. I've also had where students, when they preview the text, they only read the headings first, and they make predictions or discuss with a partner what they think it's going to be about, and then like prove themselves right or wrong once they read. Also, instead of writing a quick summary for a section, if there are no headings, you can actually have the students have them write a heading for each section. It's a different way to have them kind of summarize what they read or to explain the topic. The resource that I have here is matching headings, and it's a very simple template. Basically, the students would read a section. You can either have them, it could be interactive where you have it, they're cut out, and each paragraph is just like a strip of paper and they have to glue it here, or you can just have them number the sections and write the number in the box, and then they have to match the heading. So then they would write the heading that goes with each section and then check their answers at the end. There we go. All right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so the next one I showed you earlier, this was a bonus activity. It's called Roving charts. This is something that you can use in more than just reading. I've used it in reading though. So I've had it where they read an article, and then instead of the questions just being questions in their book or questions they have to write and answer, I've had questions written on a poster, as you see in the picture, and then the posters get passed around. That's why they're called roving charts. The posters are passed around, and the students write their answers. Now, it's best if the questions are more open-ended, because then you get to see a variety of answers that students think and what's going on in their own personal brains or connections to the story. Now, my resource for this is a little generic, because really the roving charts is based specifically on the topic or on the article that they're reading. So you can just pull the questions from the text, or you can use the generic templates that I have. And these are through Google Slides. And I just have some basic questions that can be used with any text. What was one important detail from the reading? You begin to see students write a bunch of different answers, and they can see each other's answers. What is the main idea? Again, they could have different answers in this because they could all have a different idea of what the main idea was, or different understanding. What were some key words from the text? And then what is a question that you could ask about the text? These are some generic roving charts that you can print out and use, or write them on a poster, and they just pass around from student to student and they add on. At the end, you have this chart that has answers from every student on it, and they're able to see together what they thought, what they figured out about the text. How are the students accessing Padlet? So I'm going to quickly answer this question. Susan, you asked how the students accessing Padlet. Just like you guys were able to just click on the link, it puts you in anonymously, but also Padlet is free, so you can actually sign up and use it as well. 3 more resources, and then I'll let you guys go and explore. Yes, or you can access it on your phone or laptop. Jigsaw reading. So I'm sure you guys have heard of this one before. I like to do this one a couple different ways. So the general idea of jigsaw reading is that it's collaborative. So we have group 1, and they read paragraph 1 together. and they talk about it. And they decide, what's a quick summary we could write about paragraph 1? Or what is the key points from paragraph 1? So in their group, they're talking about it. At the same time, group 2 is over here talking about paragraph 2. Group 3, group 4, right? So then when they're finished, what happens is one person from each group now makes a new group. So you'll see kind of in the picture, you see the puzzle pieces, like a jigsaw puzzle, where they all come together and put their different pieces together. So the person from group 1 is going to share all about paragraph 1. They're not going to reread it. They're going to share their summary. Group 2, group 3, group 4, they're all going to do the same. And then in that new group, they're going to create a whole summary for the text. So that's one of the biggest way that it's been used. A lot of times this is what you see in jigsaw reading. Now, you can also do it with individual students. It doesn't have to be collaborative. It doesn't have to be talking, though I think there should always be talking. But you can do it where each puzzle piece represents a different part of the text. For example, one puzzle piece may be, what was the main idea? One puzzle piece may be, what were the key points? One may be, what connection did you make? One may be, what was a quick summary? And then they're putting all of that together to have a better understanding of the text. There's a jigsaw template here, and it's simple. It's basically a puzzle pieces. This one is actually one I've used before. It's easy to cut out because it has those big thick lines, and then the students they can write on the puzzle pieces, which I think is fun, and they bring it all together so they see how it fits. Again, it doesn't have to be on puzzle pieces. They can just come and talk. All right, 2 more strategies. The next one is mind maps, graphic organizers. We all know the power of graphic organizers. I have lots of resources here. There's plenty more out there. But in reading, one of the things I've done before, and this is the picture, is before reading, I had the students brainstorm. What do they already know about this? And in this case, it was culture. It was a reading on culture. What do you already know? And then they talked in their groups. Now, how would you group these things that you already know about culture? And they started to group them. Then we went back after the reading and actually created the labels, because what they talked about was actually in the reading. It was beautiful. This is another way to activate their thinking. During reading, graphic organizers can be used to organize their thoughts, to take notes. After reading, it's a great way for them to really connect those deeper thoughts and to do something with the reading. Am I comparing and contrasting? Am I writing a summary? Am I putting it in a sequence of what happened? So you'll see the resources here. I have one that's comparing and contrasting 2 text structures. They have Article 1, Article 2. What is the actual text structure? So this one's kind of specific. You can modify it to use comparing to text, comparing to characters, comparing to thoughts or points of views. The next one's a flow map. This kind of puts things in a sequence and an order. Again, it's very simple to use. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. What goes in order of the story. It's an easy way to kind of take notes so they can go back and see. Uh-oh. Now my computer's acting crazy. They can go back and see what happened through the story. Then there's T-charts. I actually, on this T-chart resource, there are 3 different T-charts that you can use here. I did them a little bit differently. So, uh-oh, my computer's being slow now. Please be patient with me. There we go. So the first T-chart is writing headings, and then they take notes under each heading. quick notes. Again, this is where they can do the doodles or the visual note taking. The next one is actually using a T-chart to compare and contrast story elements of two texts. And so they have text 1 and text 2. And as they're reading text 1, they're taking notes on these specific things. They read text 2, take notes, and they can easily go back because they're side by side and compare them. What was the same? What was different? And the last one is specific quotes from the text. There is teaching them to quote or cite text, as well as pulling out important information. And then they kind of take their connection or thoughts about that. Okay. Last strategy is one that I discovered maybe a year ago, and I love it. It's called Thieves. And it's just an excellent way that ties everything in, the before, the during, the after reading, and it helps students to organize their thoughts and to dive deeper into text. I've created my own resource that I modified and used with students. And here it is that you can use. So some of this is before reading. So the T and the H, that's all before reading. The I, the introduction, that's the first thing you're reading. So they're kind of stopping as they go. Again, it's forcing them to kind of stop and think. And then at the end, they're able to put it all together based on what they've written down. So we have, oh my goodness, 15 minutes left for you guys to go through the Padlet and click on each one. I'm going to go back in and answer any questions you have, or if you have an extension you want to make to any of the activities, please do so, comment on them. But for the next 10 to 15 minutes, this is your time to dive into any of those that I talked about and really see how they could be beneficial to you in your classroom. Ellen, someone asked about the slides being available after 6 p.m. They're going to be housed somewhere, correct? Or do I need to give everyone access?
Yeah, so we are going to be adding them to the Wix website that Gina created. They probably won't be available immediately, but they'll be available within the next couple of days. And I can talk about that at the end too, including the
Awesome.
link to where they can be found.
So just as a heads up, a lot of people are asking about Padlet. I use only the free version. I don't pay for anything. So you will see though any of the links, they're from Google Docs. So that's the other tech resource I forgot to point out. In all of my classes, I teach my students how to use Google Drive. So we will create Google slide presentations that they can create about themselves, they can create about a job, whatever it is. We also use Google Docs, and that's where a lot of the links, a lot of the things that I made are through Google Docs. My favorite part about Google Slides and Google Docs is if I'm working with another person, we can both work on the same thing. I can be in California working on the same thing as someone in Maryland, and it's real time. We're both editing at the same time and it automatically updates. So I love that collaboration piece of Google Drive. I also use Google Forms in my classes for my students to fill out like mock applications or mock intake forms, things like that. And then also I've taught my students in some classes how to use Google like spreadsheets, and they learn how to do that, and I've shown them as far as like finances go how they could do it, or if they're managing a project, they use those. So that was the other tech thing that I use. Padlet, though, the version that I'm using is free, but it is a subscription service.
So this is Ellen. I see a question in the chat room about where things will be posted after the session. We will be posting everything to the website. I'll share that link again at the end of this session, and you'll be able to get all the resources and the slide content there.
And if I'm correct, the video will also, this whole session was recorded, right? It will be there or no?
Correct. Yes, the recordings will be there too.
Ooh. Uh-oh. I'm gonna get up for just a second. The lights went out in the room because I haven't been moving. Sorry about that. Motion censored lights. Oh, that's great. Everyone has a lot of really great thoughts about each one, and I love that. Hopefully you're able, if you save this link, you'll be able to keep going back in and adding to this and adding your thoughts. You can share with coworkers. You can always reach out to me on here and ask more questions, or even share how you've used it in your classroom. That would be awesome. Okay. Huh, strange. All right. Before we have to end, are there any other questions for me? I see the comments on Padlet have slowed down, I think. If you have any other comments or questions, you can add them to Padlet or in the chat box. Again, Ellen just posted the resources are going to be available at that Wix site after the session tonight.
Yeah, so give us a couple of days because we have another full day of sessions tomorrow, and we just need a little bit of time to get everything uploaded to the website, but they will be there definitely by the end of the month. I'm also going to include a survey link. It is a super fast survey. It'll take you about a minute to do, but we would love to have your feedback on the Virtual Training Institute.
Okay. Also, Susan, I noticed that never worked out for you to click on the resources. So what I'll do, if you guys will also make a copy of the Google Slides, you'll see that some of the pictures I mentioned earlier in there. What I can do is I can make a new slide in there and add all the links. So if Padlet just didn't work out for you, no biggie, I can add the links in the Google Slides presentation as well that you're able to click on, because I want you to have those resources that you can use. So I'll make sure they're there as well.
Well, thank you so much, Leah. This has been an awesome training on reading strategies, but also digital literacy. I think everyone has increased their digital literacy a little bit in the last hour.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you all for attending and participating in this. And again, if you have any questions or comments about the strategies, please let me know. And I'd love to hear how you use them in your classrooms.
All right. Thank you so much, Leah, for your time and your talent and sharing it with the state. We really appreciate that. And for the rest of you, thank you for attending. And please go ahead and fill out that very quick survey. Link is in the chat box. And then you can look for all these resources to be posted on Gina's website by the end of the month. Thank you so much for attending. And we will, oh, can you make the survey a link? It should be a link. You should be able to just click right on it. There you go. All right, everyone, have a great night, and we will talk soon.
Bye.
Bye. Awesome job, Leah.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a great night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.